Your host, Renee Washington, excited to bring you a new show covering the Philadelphia Union each and every week. We've got shows, we've got articles, we've got content, we've got a lot of things going on just to cover our favorite sports team, our favorite soccer team, the Philadelphia Union. And I'm thrilled to have on, kicking off our very first episode, El Parcero Philly, JP, Zapata's in the house. And you have been killing your Union coverage and all your coverage that you do at Philly Sports.
I appreciate
so
that.
I am so happy that you've been able to carve out time. You got the fresh cut.
Yes, always. For the debut, of course. Come on now.
You've got the fresh fit, and you are ready to go for our Union conversation. So plenty to get into today as we are taking a look at the State of the Union, as I call it.
Nice.
Breaking down what's going on with the Philadelphia Union, talking through what we've seen so far this season, looking ahead. Obviously, a lot right now on the international break. Kai Wagner to get into. Just so much that we have to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
But first things first, you know, what have you as a fan been most excited about so far with the Philadelphia Union?
I mean, I think for us as a fan base, we're kind of like in a standstill. Like if you think of like Sixers fans, Phillies fans waiting to see what the playoffs is like, what is that going to bring? Eagles fans, you throw in the same boat. But for the Union, like we've had success, right? We've had success for the past couple of years. Now it's getting over the hump, getting that major trophy. We have a supporter shield. That's great and all. We want some actual hardware. So I think for Union fans, the excitement is about waiting to get back there, getting through that gauntlet that is the playoffs, and trying to win the MLS Cup because we're still hungry. What LAFC did to us, that left a stain for sure. So I think right now it's like more of an eagerness for the Union fan base.
And what a great time for us to launch with PHLY Sports and obviously PHLY Union podcast, which we're on right now, and be able to have shows that are covering, as you talk about, the Philly sports teams, just the excitement that's buzzing around the city, from the Eagles to the Phillies to the Flyers to the Union. There's so much to talk about. And for the Union specifically, taking a look back at last season, the soccer world as a whole erupted during that MLS Cup final. I mean, a shootout, a high-scoring game. It had a little bit of everything. I said it was like a Hollywood plot. But for the Union fans, it definitely also left a bitter taste of, okay, that was great to get there, but we were on the wrong side of that Hollywood plot. We want to be the ones walking away with some hardware. And so this season, definitely some expectations. I remember covering the Union and working with the team during that 2020 run, during the Supporter Shield. Just each season has been chipping away, getting a little bit better. And it's fun to see how now the team has been consistent and has been continuing to really put themselves at the top of the standings week after week.
Yeah.
Now, coming off of that exciting 4-1 victory, a lot there that we have to break down. It was a bounce back game. You know, you look at that midweek loss to Toronto, not a good week up in Toronto, game up in Toronto, dropping that 3-1 decision, and to turn around and see different players step up and how they responded to not only win that, but after trailing 1-0 early 11 minutes, you give up a goal. After losing Wednesday, you can take that and respond one of two ways. And the Union responded in a very positive way.
Yeah.
Tying things up about 16 or so minutes later.
It's different this year, Ray, because like we're playing a lot of soccer, right? So like that game you're mentioning, that was the 40th match this year. You think about, we've played 38 matches the year prior. So for a lot of these guys, they're tired. They're just straight up tired. So it's about finding different ways to drive yourself, put yourself in that extra gear. That Toronto match, nobody wants to lose that way. It was uncharacteristic. You saw some bad play from Glazes, from Elliott. That's something you don't typically see. So when you went into that Red Bull match, you go down 1-0. That's what I'm talking about, like finding that extra gear. How do you bounce back? And you know, thank you to Dylan Nealis for giving us that second yell that got him out. But typically the Union don't play well when they're up a man. So seeing them play really well, put on 3 goals after that to take the lead. You saw Ty Barribo at the end of that game. You saw Jeremy Rafael in that game. But that was an important way to bounce back. And Red Bull and Union matches never, ever, ever go one way to another team. So to see them put 4-1 like that, definitely important because international break and the match we're about to talk about in a little bit as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is a rivalry game when you talk about anytime it's Union versus Red Bull, and even down to you cannot wear red anywhere around.
Not even Philly.
Not anywhere in Philly. Like forget Subaru Park, you will possibly get put out. And that's how much we just when you look at the Union fan base disliking the Red Bulls, it's personal, honestly. And so to have that rivalry game, that's 12 straight for just victories over the New York Red Bulls. That's the largest margin that they've beaten them since 2017. That's a statement victory too, as you mentioned, coming back.
I'll say this because growing up, as a Union fan, the Red Bull always had our number. So to see that kind of turn around, and now the league's growing, there's a little bit of disdain with NYCFC. You got the Revs in there a little bit, so it is changing a little bit. But to be able to get that against the Red Bull, it's great. It's great. We got it back.
Well, look, RC Burrows is in the chat talking about exactly as you mentioned, JP. It's been a stretch. And that's the thing about the MLS that's very unique. I know right now we're in an international break, but there's still a game coming up. It's not the usual break when you look at other leagues when it's you get 3 full weeks off or you have no games. It's just scaled back games, which in itself has been brought up as a topic of conversation. And I know we can get into that a lot more later, but when you look at how many games are played, international games, league games, it's a lot of soccer that you're playing. And so there's been right now that next player up mentality of, okay, we drop in the midfield a few players, switch to the 3-5-2. And as you're talking about keeping the 3-5-2 RC Burrows, I don't know. I mean, it's something that has, I'm not a huge fan of a 3-5-2, to be honest.
I understand.
So back in my playing days, when I was playing at college out of LaSalle, playing professionally, I was a midi. I was a forward. I was a goal scorer. I was an assist person. And I used to love when opponents had a 3-5-2. Because as an attacker, you're now going 1v1.
Splitting those spaces.
Oh, yeah. You can split the gaps. You can stretch their back line. It just has a lot more space that you're able to create with just that 3-back. Because it's got to be 3 really very organized, smart defenders that are almost like 3 center backs in that case.
No, literally.
And it's tough. So right now we take a look at that back line, and to your question about if you're going to keep low in the back line, if you're does he get that start? Is it a 3-5-2 moving forward? What do you think?
I personally think just because of the midfield depth, or I should say lack thereof, I think you have to go to the 3-back set. When you have 3 quality center backs in the MLS, like Lowe, like Glezis, like Elliott, you're able to run because, like you said, you can split those spaces. But these guys are really disciplined and they're really talented as well. And they have some athletic ability, so they can cover some of these sneaky, quick forwards like Renee was in her day as well. But I think that because of the midfield depth, Ali is not going to probably play coming up here. And it's really and it's not to kind of answer RC's question, the 3-5-2 is not the staple lineup.
Right.
You're going to switch between the diamond. You're going to switch between the 3-back set. It's all about the matchup, and it's all about who you have available. And because somehow, some way, we just lost all our midfield depth, you're probably going to see a lot more 3-back because that's the best way to put your best 11 out there. But I'm with you. I like the diamond. It's a staple. We've had that for a couple of years now. It's great.
It is. And honestly, when you look at suspensions, injuries, you have to make an adjustment. But I like the positive is that the Union do have the versatility to be able to make adjustments. You can have Low step into the back line, you switch to a 3-5-2. But also on the other side of that, you do have someone like Jack McGlynn, who's been playing very well. As a young midfielder, pairs nicely with Ali Bedoya, the captain. And the two of them play well off of each other. And that's something that head coach Jim Curtin was talking about, just their ability to read each other, know when to sit in, when to get forward. And specifically looking at Jack McGlynn, just the numbers of, in soccer, it's always interesting because, yes, we care about the goals and the assists, but when you have a player that's able to get as many tackles, win 50-50, stop transition, and help you keep possession, the amount of completed passes that Jack McGlynn had, we notice it. It might go unnoticed by other people, but we noticed it. And honestly, that makes a difference that if you do have a diamond midfield and you can have McGlynn, Ali Bedoya, you bring Flack back into things, you bring after suspension, everyone's back. You have that versatility that you can now just go. And that's what I always loved about the diamond midfield is you're not stuck in any positions.
Yes,
you have
true.
the flexibility to interchange, to make runs, and just read each other and balance that as you're getting forward.
Yeah, so McGlynn's had a really great year. And obviously the development, you can tell this is a homegrown player. Right. But his creativity, being able to have the long pass, split the lines as well with his short passes as well. That's really the most dangerous part about Jack McGlynn. But the thing is right now, Jack in that 3-back set that we just talked about, that's a lot of responsibility because you're now the guy in front of the back line, and that's the extra responsibility that Jack McGlynn has been taking on. We talked about the lack of depth right now. Leon Flock, for right now, out for the season. He's had that groin injury. That's so unfortunate because that's a defensive-minded midfielder that you really could use. Jesus Bueno has emerged. It's fantastic to see. That's why Andres Pereira was able to get loaned off to NYCFC. But you weren't thinking about some of the injuries and some of the call-ups and suspensions they were going to have. And of course, El Brujo Martinez is always holding down that 6th position. But in that diamond position, when you can have McGlynn at the left, Bueno at the right, Bueno has really thrived in the attack as well. So I feel comfortable with those guys as the shuttlers. You have Allie still for some depth. I mean, I wonder if Quinn drops back now as one of those shuttle midfielders. He's been someone that Jim has relied in the midfield before. Tai Barribo, someone we just brought in during the summer transfer window. He's now kind of like your 3rd forward. So things might shift around. You may be good going forward here, but you just got to going wood. No one gets hurt anymore.
Knock away. Find some wood and get to knocking quickly. I mean, look, that's the thing. There are a lot of playmakers across this roster. And we haven't even talked about, obviously, Julian Carranza, what he can do, Daniel Gadzag, what he can do, the Hungarian, James Harden. And we had a scary moment. Fortunately, we did see just a moment. Gadzag was back practicing today, which was very encouraging to see because it definitely was scary. We went from excited and cheering with that 4th goal to holy crap, a non-contact injury. You step off. Look, we see it all the time. We just saw a major injury happen in football Monday night with Aaron Rodgers. We see major injuries happen all the time, and it just has you holding your breath a bit. So great to see that Gadzag is back in practice, and like you said, Bueno as well. So encouraging. The playmakers are there. I know we're going to talk about Kai Wagner. We'll get there. But you have playmakers from the back line forward and with a 3-back, and I agree to your point, Manel Ponte, that you're saying of just not liking the 3-5-2 because it allows more cover versus counterattacking teams. And when you look at what the 3-5-2 defensively does, it's very tough. As you mentioned, it requires Jack McGlynn, your mids have to get back. They have to be a little bit almost just smart about picking and choosing their spots. Whereas with that 4th defender, you're able to go. You know, if you have, your 4-backs there, maybe your outside back gets forward, Kai Wagner gets forward, maybe now McGlynn does drop in, but you still have at least 3 other players that are home. So the 3-back does make you have to be a little bit more disciplined.
Yes.
And almost just, you can't be as aggressive getting forward and as eager to get forward. So I think that's where we saw that early goal against the Red Bulls come into play of Jack McGlynn in the midfield just kind of picked apart. They were able to they were wide open, getting forward, exposed, finished, down 1-0. But I do like the response at least to defensively tighten up because it started against Toronto and it started early against Red Bulls.
Yeah, and I'll say this, first off, shouts to Jose. Jose, one of the best cover in the Union. What's going on, Jose? But no, so like the fullback position is really important for this team, right? And obviously Kai is shown to be one of the best in this league in general. And Mbaizo on the other side is one that's been shifting with Harriel. Jim's been switching them back and forth in the lineup. But for Mbaizo, you talk about discipline. Mbaizo, someone's been struggling with defending coming back. So it is a good point, something to keep in mind there. We'll get to Cincy, Jose, but that's definitely something big for sure. But yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's important.
Oh, yeah.
It's important.
That's the thing. Right now, it's the State of the Union. For those of you that are tuning in to our PHLY Union podcast, whether you're watching live or for those that will be watching us back and listening, we've got so much to talk about with the Union. It's a great time because games have slowed down, which is crazy to think about because we still have games twice a week. But they've slowed down. We have a chance to kind of take a step back. We're all catching our breath, players included, just like us. And looking ahead, obviously, big game against Cincinnati coming up. Postseason is fully in effect as we're looking at standings and things like that. And so I know we'll get deeper into breaking down what all this means for playoff implications and how important it is to win these games. But as you mentioned, for this group, just seeing how they were able to respond, what they have been able to do offensively, what is it that you would say is an area of concern? What is it that needs to be fixed? I mean, it's mid-September. It's time to start coming into postseason form, and it's time to start fine-tuning things. What would you fine-tune if you're Jim Curtin?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily what they need to fine tune. I will say, I think that the depth is something that has affected them a little bit. And I think as they get bodies, that'll be something that you don't have to worry about per se. But I think the aggression, the aggression is something like taking those chances, taking those risks, something that this team has done really well prior that's something I wanted to see him doing. Like, you are the Philadelphian. Go out there and show that you were the team that has been dominating the MLS for the past couple of years. Obviously, we do need that trophy, but we know who you are. This league knows who you are. And I think that's really the one thing that I really want to see the team just go out there and play that confident style. Like, I know, like, I don't want to bring up the Messi game too much, but I know a lot of people are still talking about that match. And I know, like, August, like, you had the Toronto match, you had the Miami match. But as I always say, the past is the past. You leave it in the past. And we know what the capability of this team is, and that's what they need to focus on. It's just all up here for me, at least.
It's great because we didn't talk about this beforehand, and I promise you we did not coordinate this answer, JP, but that was literally my answer also. I don't think it's anything that we can control right now. I feel like with the Philadelphia Union, and I remember actually after that game versus Inter Miami and the way that Messi just ran through the Union and the whole squad made the Union look like a shell of themselves. Yeah. And the biggest question mark from that we have continued to have is in these big moments, how will the Philadelphia Union step up? Yeah. Will they get nervous? Will they get a little bit intimidated? Mm-hmm. And understanding that you are a top team in the league and internationally has been proven. So go out there and show that. It doesn't matter if you are 20-year-old Jack McGlynn or if you're Ali Bedoya, if you're Daniel Gazdag, if whoever you are, go out there and prove that you are a top team consistently. And I think that's the biggest area of concern for me when it comes to the Union. Down the stretch, come postseason, come, major games, will you make the most of your opportunities? I like that too. Make the most of your opportunities, play with that, play on the front foot and just be more aggressive. Yeah. Versus I felt like at times, especially in that Miami game, it seemed a little bit hesitant and like reactive. And you can't go into these games down the stretch like that. You need to go stick into your game plan, stick into what works, but playing high intensity, playing aggressive with that swagger and confidence that I'm going to pepper you with shots, going to make your keeper have to make saves, and it's going to be hard to defend us. We're executing on set pieces. We're creating wide flank opportunities like they did against New York. And we're also going to put those chances away when we get them. Yeah, and like I mentioned, digging deeper because this team has played a lot, and that's what I'm talking about, digging deeper. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that they're going to have to continue doing because there's more soccer. You have 7 matches in 22 days, I think. 8 matches to go for the rest of the season. I mean, Supporter Shield is technically still on the line here, so I know people in Philadelphia still want that trophy. But, I mean, it's race to the finish. You got to get this right here. Well, yes, it is definitely time to start getting that next piece of hardware because Union fans are only going to go for so long of, well, we got this and we went far in this and we came close. Yeah. It's time to lock that down, come away with some hardware, win the MLS Cup, and solidify yourself as a top team. You've got the talent to do it. You've got the depth to do it. You've got the coaching staff to do it. Let's do it. So that being said, as we are talking about the middle of September, it also is football time. And the other football Americano, football, NFL football, it is back. It's in full swing with another week of epic games, including Monday night's interesting game, however you want to look at it. And DraftKings has you covered with all the action for every single game. DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NFL. New customers can bet $5 on football and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. And nobody's missing out on all the action this season. All DraftKings customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every day this September. So you can get in on the NFL action. We'll get back to talking about the real football, but you can get in on the NFL action with DraftKings Sportsbook. Download the app now and use code PHLY to sign up. New customers can bet just $5 and take home $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHLY. The crown is yours. And if you do have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, you can call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York. And in Connecticut, help is also available for problems with gambling. You can call 888-789-7777 and visit ccpg.org. So please play responsibly as you are betting for your favorite teams or your thoughts on predictions. And on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 and older age varies by jurisdiction, but definitely see sportsbook.draftkings.com/football teams for eligibility terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. If you're still with me after that mouthful of sports book, DraftKings, all the excitement, we've got to shift now because we've been talking about kind of the state of the union with what's going on, what we've seen so far, looking back at the New York Red Bulls game, that 4-1 victory, the come from behind victory, the great response after a midweek loss to Toronto, but a response that none of us liked, Kai Wagner. And we've got to talk about the future in Philly for Kai Wagner. Now, Kai Wagner did become the 7th Union player to record a combined 40 goals and assists. And you look at that list, incredible players, some like Daniel Gazdag, who's still on the team, Kasper Shabilko, Ali Bedoya, who's still on the team, obviously, Sebastian Letou, a mixture of current players, former standouts, and Kai Wagner being one of them. And we're all excited to see that Kai Wagner had 3 assists in that game. And then post-game, we get the devastating news that the future is not so bright in Philly for Kai Wagner. And we have no idea what is going to happen with the future if we're going to lose Kai Wagner, who is hands down the best outside back in the MLS, period.
Yes.
What were your initial responses? What do you think?
Well, first off, shouts to Jose, who did report on that first. But that news was shocking, to be quite honest, because we went from talking about Kai in Europe, right? Transfers to Leeds, wherever in Europe, back to Germany, to now after the Red Bull match, after 3 assists, we go into the locker room and be like, well, you know what? This might be my last year. And that's not what we all expected. But it's interesting because where did the Union go with this? Right? Kai, like you mentioned, one of the best fullbacks in the league. My dude probably wants to get paid, right? It's fair to say probably wants to get paid. The Union, obviously not typically known for dishing the checkbook out. So it leaves Kai like, okay, well, if you guys aren't going to pay me, well, I will find another suitor. I think the main concern for a lot of fans is, will he go somewhere in the league? Like, we know the team we're about to play, they like their Philly players and their Philly staff. Could they be one to poach Kai Wagner away? That's just an example. But I would hope, obviously the fan base have the hashtag Buy Kai. I think that's fantastic. I personally love fan camaraderie. We can get behind this cause of getting Kai here. It's really up to the Union. Keep in mind, Ernst has been fantastic with scouting. Remember, Kai Wagner came here on a free. He's valued at like $2 to $5 million, somewhere around that range. So he knows how to find talent. So if he does go, I'm not too worried about that. But we've fallen in love with Kai. We fall in love with that left foot, that machine of him. So it is a tricky spot, and it's going to come down to dollar signs at the end of the day, I think. And
you look at what Kai Wagner is able to do offensively and defensively, and it's special. I mean, to have an outside back, and this is when we talk about the beauty of the diamond midfield, to have an outside back that can get forward, whip balls and drop crosses and services into the box into dangerous areas, knock in corner kicks. We've seen Jack McGlynn on the ball. We've also seen Wagner on the ball for corners. To be able to knock corners into dangerous spots. We saw that with Glesney's goal, a beautiful finish, just a gritty play. That's what you want to have from your outside back, a player that can just kind of fill in the gaps. And unfortunately, to lose Kai Wagner, it's similar to when you look over the years and there's a Brendan Aronson and different players that you've lost to international loans and you fall in love with them. You're excited. You're like, this is the future of the team. Yeah. And then money talks and they walk. And honestly, you're left kind of like, oh, now what do we do? So, I mean, as you guys are saying, I know there's a lot of question about and even to your point, Yair Vasquez, of being surprised that he's still in the MLS. I agree. Kai Wagner is talented and definitely was expecting and not surprised, I should say, that so many people would be interested in Kai Wagner joining their team. But Union, we can't be so cheap. I don't know. It's a great job of recruiting and always filling in, but it's the balance of do we just pay the player that we have fallen in love with and keep Kai Wagner, or do we go out and try to replace and hope? Here's the other dynamic as well, because you're the Union, right? You sold Brennan, you sold Mark. You've had some good sales, right? But now it's like, all right, so here comes Leeds. They put out X amount of money, and they're thrown away because they're saying that's not enough. Julian Carranza, we just talked about, over the break, Olympiacos threw 7.5 mil. Union said that's not enough, and that's up front the most a team is offered for a transfer fee for a player. Yeah. So for the Union as well, they recognize the value of these players, so they're not going to sit back and say because they're an MLS side, we'll take whatever. No. They want the value that they feel that these players are worth, and you can look at it as a good or a bad, but at the end of the day, you got to value your guys, and that's what they value them as. Yeah, and to your point, Peter Taylor, thank you for showing love to the new show. This is a show that is a part of, for PHLY Sports in general, one of many. We've got articles, we've got podcasts. You can tune in live like you're doing right now and drop in the chat comments, thoughts, agreeing with us, disagreeing with us, your takes. Join in the conversation. This is not us just talking at you. We want you to join in the conversation with us. And then we're bringing you content each and every day across Philly sports. The Union will be one of those teams that we're covering heavily as well. Because like you're talking about, not only do these players deserve the monetary side, but they deserve the coverage as well. And as a former professional soccer player myself, I'm always advocating for more soccer coverage. And so I do like the fact that on one side, when we go back to Kai Wagner, yes, the league has been doing a better job of making sure that players are getting what they deserve. And I could see where a player, and we see this across leagues, will say, I'll take less because we have a championship team. And I'd rather take a little less, get some hardware, win a title. I don't know. I always get stuck on, is it better to rebuild or just to build with what you've already got? I'd rather just build on versus like starting from scratch and hoping you can find a left back like Kai Wagner.
No, for sure. I mean, it's a tricky spot. I mean, if you sell Kai, obviously your options are like Anton Sorensen or Matt Rial, who, Matt Rial's been here forever. So you're more than likely going to have to look outside. So it's not really what you want to do. And especially, one thing we don't mention too, Renee, is the cohesiveness with the back line. Like
Bingo.
Glesnes, Elliott, Wagner, all three of them were MLS Defender candidates last year. So, you lose one of those guys. It's, it's a chicken and chain at that point.
And that has been one of the strengths of this team.
Yeah.
When you look from Andre Blake all the way forward, that you have that defensive unit that's played a lot of games together. They've been in the grind of those close matches, postseason, preseason, international games. They've been in that grind together. And so they've just read each other very well. And I know that's possibly why like someone like Damian Lowe coming into the mix more and more and getting bigger minutes is a tough transition, especially with a 3-back. But this defensive unit has been sound. You look at the numbers, you look at the awards, and Andre Blake gets those goalkeeper of the year awards because of your back line too. It's them helping to minimize shots, minimize chances, corner kicks, and set pieces. And a big part of that is, as you mentioned, that cohesiveness that allows the younger players, Carranza, Gazdag up top, to have the flair, the confidence to just go. And for anybody that's ever played soccer, you know that as an attacker, to have that freedom to know, like, I can go take chances, I can make runs up, I can just be as creative and as crafty as I want getting into the attacking third, knowing I've got a solid back line behind me that's always ready to step up, stop transition, and keep our opponents from shots.
It's always key.
So I don't know. That part is definitely a little bit frustrating when you think about it. But it's been a next player up mentality. We've seen Jack McGlynn stepping up. We've seen different players as they get those opportunities. Is there someone else that you'd like to see step up right now that you feel like has been showing in spurts, but
I want to say we'll step up. I don't think we'll step up. I mean, that's
boy,
Joaquin Torres. I mean, I don't know what to think of Joaquin. Is he in the wrong system? Is he just not getting it? Like when I watch Joaquin out there, like he's obviously the first assist that he scored that we got a goal off of Carranza in the Columbus match. That was fantastic. The spin moves were fantastic. But ever since then, it feels like it's just a guy out there just doing too much.
Right.
Sometimes the quick pass goes a long way than you trying to do 300 spin moves out on the pitch. But I think for me personally, we talked about the midfield, right? Quinn Sullivan, we talked about the depth. Can he be someone that can help out with the depth going forward? You talking about stepping up. Jesus Bueno really stepped up, and that's really helped out in the midfield depth. But still I'm concerned because we talked about the Leon Flock injury. So I think personally for me, I want to see if Quinn Sullivan can finally take it because he's a talented player, scored some fantastic goals here, just had a tough time finding the pitch.
Yeah, no, and that's honestly where these opportunities allow for different players to step up. You get minutes, it is that next player up mentality. If Kai Wagner's future is very short and numbered here, to still be able to have other players that can come into the mix. And now moving forward, it also just gives you the confidence and reassurance that they get those minutes now. Come playoff time, you never know who you're going to need.
Yeah.
That's shown itself in the past. You never know who you're going to need. It's a lot of games. It's a long season. And you want to make sure that you can keep guys as fresh as possible to be as close to their best as possible.
Absolutely.
I could not agree with that more. Well, as we're talking about games, there's plenty of games to go check out. Obviously, we've got home and away games. So maybe you feel like traveling to a game. Maybe you feel like flying out. Maybe you want to just go to Subaru Park in your backyard. So looking at the upcoming games, they've got that Cincinnati game coming up. That is this upcoming weekend. Also back at home facing against Charlotte. That's next Wednesday. and then that LAFC game on the road on Saturday, the 23rd. Looking at these 3 games, and I know we'll get into a lot deeper of the matchup because we also want to preview, taking on Cincinnati this upcoming weekend, but looking at these games, also huge for playoff implications.
For sure.
When you talk about just having the opportunity to climb the standings, but also you want to be able to have higher points than your Western Conference opponents.
Yeah, for sure.
And that will allow you to have home games, more games at Subaru Park, get the Sons of Ben, get everybody out that's, rallying around the Union, making it loud and a fun atmosphere that it is, and being able to sleep in your own bed and then play in front of your fans.
Absolutely. That's the best part. Not having to travel, that's probably better for us for sure.
Yeah, so if you're looking to get to a game and you're trying to find tickets, for those that are not season ticket holders and want to just go to a Union game, you can check out the Game Time app. The Game Time app is great of being able to help just eliminate the chaos. Buying tickets can be stressful. You're trying to coordinate with your friends. Where do we want to sit? Who's going to pay them? Do I Venmo you and pay you back? Whatever it is. It's a lot to plan for games, for concerts, for any sort of sports and entertainment venues that you're attending. And so if you're trying to get to Subaru Park or Citizens Bank or the Link, wherever you're trying to go to catch a game, check out the Game Time app. You can use the code PHLY, so the same as the code that we just gave you for DraftKings, code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase and be able to buy tickets to your favorite sports venues. Check it out. It's fast, it's easy, and it allows you to also catch some killer deals and last-minute savings, which I don't know about you, but I love a good saving.
For sure. They don't have Taylor Swift tickets on there because I heard those are a little expensive.
Those are not savings unless you plan on saving a kidney to donate, because that's the only way you can get any tickets to anything Taylor Swift. Beyonce is right up there too, where you are like having to sell your unborn child that you haven't even had yet to be able to get to a concert. So
literally.
But Subaru Park does give you good prices. Yes. You don't have to worry about those types of expensive tickets. Every seat is a great seat. And so for the Union specifically, you want to try to make sure you can take care of business. And I think that's always the best part when, as a player, you have the opportunity to control your own destiny. So now you can play at home. You can, you take care of business. You win the games you're supposed to win. You finish out the regular season the right way. And then from there, you are able to now step into the postseason feeling much better. So, looking at the upcoming schedule and looking at the games, winnable games, and hopefully games that they will do exactly that and take care of business. Yeah,
we do know that. We do that. So, so Cincinnati LAFC are home, Charlotte's away.
We're actually testing you, and you passed. The test for those of you that are tuning in was to see how truly of a diehard Union fan you really are. And it was one of those, like, will they catch it, will they not catch it things? And you guys definitely passed. So, JP, we've got some real fans here.
We do. We appreciate the dupers out there for sure.
Thank you.
It's a tough 3-game stretch. Cincinnati's always difficult. Noonan has the book on Jim Curtin and the Union for sure. Obviously, former coach here, but as Jose mentioned earlier, no Lucho Acosta. Yeah. That is important. He's an MVP candidate in the MLS. They still have good pieces in the attack, especially with Vasquez. But I think in general, you mentioned it, being at home, Gazdag and Bueno, hopefully they'll be in 11. That should be a big reason why we get the 3 points here this upcoming weekend. But it's never going to be easy. And then, of course, LAFC, the third match that we talked about. I mean, LAFC Union, do I have to say anything more like that? Yeah. There's going to be so many emotions in that match. And LAFC not playing their best either. They've been going up and down a little bit too. So I think that one's going to be a lot of fun. But Cincy and LAFC, the next two at home, Subaru Park's going to be crazy. I'm wondering what Eagles player is going to ruin the mallet for
Freddie
the draw.
Mitchell, Fred Eggs,
and
Mr.
Jason Kelsey.
26 himself. Jason Kelsey did it as well. I mean, look, hey, we get it. We've got the guns of steel also, right? We'd probably break the mallet too. Just you are so into it, and it's such an honor to be able to be involved in the pregame festivities and to see that break. But cool. I like the way they just rolled with it. And there was a second one that was ready. So, hey, that was kind of cool. We talk about depth. We talk about being able to roll with the punches. And not only is it happening on the pitch, but off the pitch too, with having a backup mallet pregame.
Jim, that's the Union way.
Well, I like the question that RC Barrows dropped into the chat. And it's actually kind of interesting. Your last name is Burrows, and we're talking about the upcoming game versus Cincinnati, but we're going to let that slide because we like you. But talking about the next big name that come to the MLS. Obviously, we saw what happened when one of the most recent and the biggest name came to the MLS and Messi, and how the Union faced off against them. But we won't talk about that either. But overall, the soccer world has erupted with that news, even to the point that now there's talks of changing the international break because Messi can't be here. So who would be the next big player that you think is going to come over? There's a lot right now happening with the other leagues, but also that big deal that's happening in Qatar, I believe it is, that's going on with
Saudi Arabia, the money. The big one,
money is talking, and players are definitely flocking to it. So do you think the MLS, through the Messi move, is going to be able to bring in somebody else?
I think so, because I think the reason why Messi decided to come here, I think more players will do the same. Like, you have to ask yourself, like, obviously Saudi Arabia is going to offer you a boatload of money. Like, that's fantastic. But it's like, now you're older, you're thinking about family, you're thinking about your quality of life. Do you want to live there, or do you want to come in the States? And obviously, look, like Messi, I mean, not every player is like Messi, obviously, but they really prioritized him, and it was really cool. I would look, Renee, at the most recent one that's been rumored, and that's Antoine Griezmann, Atletico Madrid, long-time staple there. He's someone that's flirted, I'm talking extremely, like Colombian flirted with the MLS in America. He loves American culture.
Not a Colombia flirt.
Listen, Colombians, don't ever try to fall in love with a Colombian, trust me. But no, Antoine Griezmann has flirted with the MLS for so long now. He's a big basketball guy. He just said that he still sees his future playing in the MLS at some point. I know Union fans get really excited to see that one possibly, but I think that's one I could see happening coming year. He's still a big enough name. Most soccer fans know who Antoine Griezmann is, and so that's the one I would really look to see. And he's fun. He's exciting. He's like a shifty winger type. Still can score goals. He's a lot of fun. He's a great personality. So I think that would be great for this league, depending on where he goes. Problem too is that, like, most of these guys want to come to big cities, but we have like New York, where it's like the Red Bull.
That
NYC.
is the problem for sure.
Not really well
The
ran.
attraction has to be there. And look, I will say, in general, it's great to see how the game has evolved. So I played in the NWSL in the early seasons, and now Marta, he's one of the greatest ever,
Legend.
male or female, now playing in Orlando. We've got Messi down in Miami, but those are big cities that attract a big name like that. And I think there's a lot of levels to it. It's not just about, can the MLS provide a league that's going to attract the best names talent-wise, because that's huge too. And I think that Messi has actually shown, coming into the league, it's still competitive. Yes, Messi has not lost. Messi went on a scoring streak. All right, Messi came in and really hit the ground running, but it was still
love Nick's
competitive.
Comment.
And yes, would they spend the money? I don't know. That's the problem. It's like it all comes down to the financial side. Like I keep saying, money talks, but it's the truth, and it's a business as well. And these are players that are trying to provide for their families. You talk about just having kids. You want to be somewhere where you can, in a good city. Philly's a great city to live.
Oh yeah, raise
Miami,
kids.
Yeah, LAFC. But as there are some areas that are maybe not as great. It's more expensive and whatever else. So it's got to have the right. I feel like the partnerships and brand deals have to be there. The money has to be there, but also the market has to be there. The following. So the Union, for example, having a great following attracts players to want to play in Philly. Not every team can say that.
Yeah, I think for some of these bigger players, like, how much do they actually know about Philly? And I think that's where, because like they look at the States, they know New York, they know Miami, they know LA, but how much do they actually know about Philly? I feel like it would take, like, first off, when you're going to go out for some of these big players, you need to make sure that their mind's right. It's not just collect another paycheck.
No.
It's because he wants to win. He wants to make a mark on American soccer, because we know American sports are humongous worldwide. So if you make an imprint in soccer here in this country, you're doing something right. So I think that that's really what it would take. But, for Sugarman, you got to realize, you just saw what happened in Miami. You got to spend a little bit more now.
Got to spend some money.
Got to spend
I don't know. You guys let us know who you think is going to be the next big name to come into the MLS. We are kind of floating around some names and some ideas. I in a perfect world, I'd love to see like Ronaldo come to the MLS. If I could, just had an abundance of money and could just pay for anybody. But honestly, it's tough because there's definitely a lot of other variables that go into it. So let's shift back. I know we've gotten off topic here. We've talked a little bit about, it's a great topic to get in. Great question, Burrows. It's a great topic to get into, but it also leads us perfectly into the international break discussion, because that has been something that we saw during the World Cup. there was a break. We saw earlier this year, there was not a break in the summer, you know, when you look, and early spring, I should say. This month right now, during the international window, the Union send off a lot of players. It's exciting to see how they are. Yeah. Yay, you've got players getting international call-ups. It's like 6 or 7 guys, but no, because that means you have to fill in an Andre Blake. What do you think about the MLS continuing to play throughout the international break and how this impacts teams, especially at this point of the season?
I think going for this round, for this upcoming weekend, we should be fine. But no, of course, I hate it. It's the worst. Because the thing is that, like, you know, like, you'll wake up Saturday morning, there's no prime matches. But then you're like, oh my God, now I know Andre's out, I know Gazag's out. So it's something that the MLS should look at permanently to not allow these players, or I'm sorry, not the league to play while there's international break, because it's just bad product out there. I mean, you're getting like third, second teamers out there. So, I mean, it's definitely something that they need to look at for sure. But it's good. It was nice having the weekend off, you know, watching some of the other soccer. I got to watch my Colombia. So El Brujo play against my Colombia, which is really cool. Colombia is playing today against Chile. Vamos Colombia. But it's got to change for sure.
It does. And honestly, just because something that I feel like I've heard from a number of different players was you're like in a rhythm. And as we know, as athletes, it's so much about routine. And you get accustomed. You're in that in-season rotation of what your pregame meals are like, what's your rest like, what's your ice baths, recovery days, you know, practice schedule. And games are pretty consistent where you're able to get a nice routine down. And then all of a sudden, it's like you're just plucked away from your team. You're going to go play with another team. It's awesome to have the pride of representing your country. It's great. And for any athlete, you dream of that growing up. Absolutely. Having your flag, having your, you know, your country behind you. But then on the other side, it's like now you have to acclimate there, and it's a quick change. And then you come right back and you do it all over again. And it's a lot to deal with. Not to mention, as we talked about earlier, just the longevity of the season and the amount of games that means. The break is not a break. You're still playing.
Literally still playing.
Yeah. Well, that being said, for anybody that does want to get some merchandise to represent your favorite teams, countries, whatever it may be, sports and entertainment, you can definitely check out FOCO. FOCO is the leading manufacturer for sports and entertainment merchandise, apparel, toys, collectibles, whatever you need, they've got it at FOCO. And again, you can use the code PHLY for 10% off of your order to be able to check out FOCO. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports. They have yours too, and they are going to provide you with the best gear around by checking them out, using the link that we have in our description, and being able to check out some different apparel and merchandise using the code PHLY for 10% off. All right, well, we've flirted with the idea around and teetered around the discussion around the postseason and standings, and just taking a look at right now where the Philadelphia Union are in standings across the league. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about on the Eastern Conference side as well as the league as a whole, but that Cincinnati matchup, that's two top 5 teams. Number 1 seed, I know they just clinched. I do want to give a quick shout out to Malik Pinto, who I covered at Princeton University. Great to see Pinto doing very well in the MLS right now. That's the only positive thing I'll say about Cincinnati. But for this game coming up, a huge opportunity to climb the table. You know, the Union want to set themselves up, as we talked about, to not only be a top team in the East, but a top team in the league. And right now they are the second. Every team except one in the West is below them in points. So that's a positive as we talk about LAFC coming up, which is a huge game. LAFC obviously is struggling a bit as well. But when you look across this standings, the Union are setting themselves up for a home game. Important. Which we love to see.
Yes.
I mean, what are your thoughts on where the Union are right now and the room to grow and climb the table?
Well, I think considering where we started off the season, I think this is great, and this is expected. Like, we've seen this before, and, you know, we know that they can bounce back. And for them to be in the spot, I think that is great. Can we take down Cincinnati a little bit? That starts off with Saturday, right? So that'll be really interesting. But I think it's really important. So us, Orlando, and New England really are fighting for, you know, that second spot and compete against Cincinnati. New England just got, I think Bruce Arena to resign. That situation in general is super confusing. Important thing is no Bruce Arena for New England. That's huge. U.S. soccer legend, right? So Orlando, always going to be tricky with Oscar Pareja. And so for the Union, taking care of business, as we talked about, the 8 matches left that we have here, including Saturday. So it does start, but it's right there for the taking. Like, you can climb up for Supporter Shield if that's something that they truly want to get. that does start here on Saturday.
Yeah. I mean, there's tiebreakers, there's home games, there's a lot that's at stake here. So along with the supporter shield, as we talked about a little bit, it's taking care of business so that you can make sure. I always say this word, and for anybody that watches all of my content, first of all, thank you. But you're probably sick of me saying this word, momentum. I mean, momentum is so big in sports because it's the difference of after a Saturday game, you are excited, you're traveling back home, the plane ride or the bus ride or the train, whatever transportation you're taking, it's exciting. You're blasting music, you're singing, you're dancing, you're maybe sleeping peacefully. Versus if you drop that game in Toronto, for example, and you now have to come back home with a sour taste in your mouth. You're thinking about everything you did wrong. If you're Jacob Glesney, you're thinking like, oh no, I didn't match up on defense. I was out of position for the 3 goals. I didn't do well. It just mentally forces you to have to be in a place that you don't need to be in. So I like the fact that this is an opportunity, as you mentioned, to climb the table and hopefully have that momentum swing that now you're getting into postseason play, really feeling happy, upbeat, but also just the vibes around Subaru Park are that much more positive going into the postseason. And
if you don't believe her about how important momentum is, then you didn't watch the Eagles game on Sunday.
Oh my gosh. It's insane. It's insane. But with that, Ali Bedoya did pick up a yellow card at the end of the last game versus the Red Bulls. So due to that yellow card accumulation rule, which I'm glad was not as big of a thing back in my day because I definitely had a lot of yellow cards. Bedoya is going to be out for this upcoming game versus Cincinnati. That's a tough blow too. I mean, it's always hard when you don't have everybody there. Yeah. That's part of sports, of course. Yes. But it's definitely going to be challenging. So between the international break, Bedoya's yellow card, going to be a different look for the Union. But what are your pregame predictions and thoughts for this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think that anytime you do play Cincinnati, just know because of Noonan, it's going to be a tough one. You're going to have to grind it out. You're going to have to play physical. Noonan, like I said, has the book on the Union and Curtin. So it just expect that for sure. With Ali gone, Ali at this point has become like somewhat of a super sub. You have been rotating him. Obviously, you had to play him against the Red Bull because of what you were missing. But Jesus Bueno has been able to step up because of this. Now, he's been practiced, like we mentioned, so he should be able to go. But we talked about it as well as the aggression that this team plays with. And that's what I want to see here against Cincinnati. Playing Union-style soccer, pressing hard, pressing high as well. I want to test that back line a little bit in this one. I mean, it is going to take 90 minutes. It might be a low-scoring game as per usual. I want to see, and also too, like getting those 3 guys up top. Like, I want to see some good chances. Something that we haven't seen per se this year is good shots, good chances on goal, and I want to see that here on Saturday. I personally believe that the Union can get the win. I think that we're in the spot here in the season where the Union turn it up. We're at home. Fans are going to show up against Cincinnati. I don't know if Cincy's ready for this. I'm going to be honest with you. No Lucho, their heartbeat. I feel really good. I'm going to go on a limb. I'm going to say a 2-1 win here for the Union. I'll go 2-1. I think Gaza gets on the board. You know what? Let's give it to Ure. So we haven't
even talked. I was going to say we haven't even spoken about him.
Talk about him enough.
Yeah.
But it's because his stat sheet doesn't light it up. But when you watch him without the ball, that's where he's most dangerous, and that's what opens things up for everyone else. And he's so underappreciated, I feel like, in this, in the MLS. I'll say in the MLS in general because of what he does. But let's see Ure get a goal on Saturday. Okay,
let us know what you guys think. Predictions for this upcoming weekend's game at home versus Cincinnati. Score predictions, thoughts on what the Union are going to be able to do. I honestly agree with you. I think that what I like about this team and what I'm excited to see how this continues to progress to close out the regular season is that next level of coming out into games. We touched on this in the beginning of the show, playing on the front foot, playing aggressive. The movement is what opens things up. Yeah. When you're making runs, when that's what we saw with especially the second 2 goals, but even creating the set pieces for the first 2 goals and the other chances that Ali Bedoya had and different players had against Red Bull was just the movement to stretch the back line, be able to find the seams, make runs off of each other. And then it also just gives you so much more confidence as you're playing that you're now a pass ahead. Yeah. You can't play soccer reactive. You can't play soccer just kind of hesitant. If you know where your options are, I know I've got JP out here. I know I've got, expire out here. It makes the ball move a lot quicker. Yes. And when the Union are playing with that, like, I always say thinking touches when you have to, like, the ball's at your feet. You're not really sure what you're doing. So you just kind of taken touches that are wasted touches versus meaningful touches. So I know exactly where I'm going with my next pass, shot, cross, and my first touch shows that. And even you look at Carrera's goal. That's a first-time finish. There's no thought to it. It's balls off of Kai Wagner, finish first time. Like, it's just, it's seamless. Yeah. It's beautiful to watch.
This fan base knows when you see them play as one collective unit, some of the most beautiful soccer you watch, for sure.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I would love to see how players continue to step up. You know, so in addition to the score, you said a 2-1 prediction is yours. I feel like we're going to see some goals.
Okay.
I was leaning towards 2-1, and now I don't want to say the same thing as you. So just to be different,
that's a great answer.
I'm going to say, it's not a 3-2 vibe. Oh, you know what? I'm going to go 3-1.
Okay.
I'm going to go 3-1 Union. I think it is going to be a close game. Yes. I think that Cincinnati is going to be chasing the game, trying to get that tying goal, and then the Union are going to get a late third goal off of like a transition. This is super specific. So if it comes correct, I'm like playing the lottery. I think it's going to be like a transition play where Cincinnati's high pressing, trying to tie the game up. And then in transition, the Union come down, get that extra goal, the insurance goal. And dun, 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 dun. We're all happy. We're all cheering.
I'm ready. Give me the dupes. Give me the dupes.
What's your favorite part, your favorite spot or part of Subaru Park, I should say, just watching and being there in person? Now that I'm like, I just got really excited, actually. I'm not going to lie. Just hearing that.
Renee's ready to get in the stadium right now.
Like, it's gold. Someone scored. What is your favorite part about being down at Subaru Park and just the atmosphere of being involved with watching the Union in person?
You know what's funny is I did not think I would get a press pass to the Miami match because of, obviously, Messi. But I
the
Messi effect. I was really determined to go simply because I knew that fan culture, that fan atmosphere was going to be something I've never seen at Subaru Park. And that's the main reason why I went. I got some great clips. It's just because of that. It's seeing those fans and seeing our fan base grow. I've been doing this since 2019, covering this team, seeing how much his fan base has grown, seeing you walk down Philadelphia during the playoffs, City Hall. You got Adam Booth's face right on City Hall with Ali Bedoya. Like, that type of stuff, it makes me so happy because, you know, being Colombian American, seeing, you know, soccer being a big part of my life, but I've always been a Philly sports fan. And now seeing soccer being part of this, it is truly remarkable, and it's because of the fans, and we're still growing. We're baby to this, essentially. So
yeah,
that's absolutely the best part about it, for sure.
That is great to have that experience of being credentialed at a game like that, but also just to be there and just to see where the league has grown to, and to see where the fans have grown to. There is an agreed comment, by the way. 2-1. RC Burroughs agrees with you on that. I actually agree with that, too, but I'm just going to say 3-1 to be different in a good way, because why not? We would love a 3-1 game.
She gave us a storyline. That was even better.
Yes. But overall, the Union games are like nothing else. And that's why it is so important to get a home game. That's the 12th man. Yes. That's a huge advantage when you just think of how it's always rocking. Everyone's on their feet. Everyone's cheering. Everyone's all into it. And I actually started working with the Union in 2020.
I remember that was great.
My first experiences with the Union doing their pregame, halftime, postgame shows with Dave Leno and with Sebastian Latou was with nobody there. So it was like, I was so excited. Now I had been around before, obviously, but like, I was like, oh, great. This is perfect. I'll be at a lot of games. I'll be like fully immersed in all things at Subaru Park. And there were like crickets chirping in the background, and all we had was, I mean, it was cool to like be the only ones there watching, but it wasn't cool because the whole excitement is the fans. So when fans finally came back, and it was such a great moment. But I agree with you. I don't know if I have a favorite moment. I would say, just in general, just when my first game recently that I had the chance to go as a fan.
There you go.
Like for media, for those of us, you're often there, you're credentialed, so you're enjoying it, but you're not fully enjoying it the same way. But when I was able to have a couple of drinks, kick back, I saw the players, I gave them some hugs, I gave them some love. I'm like, I'm off the clock today. I'm just here as a fan. That was definitely fantastic.
No questions today.
No questions for me today. I'm here just to cheer and just to be immersed in all the fun things Subaru Park. Oh, yeah. Well, JP, I know you're doing a great job of continuing to cover Philly sports. Yes. And your Union coverage and everything has been fantastic. So I thank you so much for just taking time to join us here. Where can people, where can people continue to follow you and check out all your coverage? For anybody that was tuned in, you heard all the nuggets and great insight that you were dropping. Where can they follow to get more?
First off, I appreciate you guys. What you guys have started is going to be amazing. Philadelphia's already buzzing. But if you'd like to check out more Union stuff for myself, at Parcero Philly Media, you can find us on YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. We run Citywide Special. It's an hour-long afternoon show talking all Philly sports, including the Union. So make sure you guys check it out. And I hope to talk to you guys again. I appreciate it.
Yes, absolutely. And for those of you that are tuning in, thank you for being so active in the chat. RC Burrows, Nick.
Good comment section.
You hear KW, Jose. Great to see so many people that have been joining into the conversation in the chat. And we've got more to show. I mean, we're still building out our studio here. Hopefully you've been enjoying the look. I know there were some comments about enjoying the setup. It's the Philly vibe. It's all the authentic things Philly for us true city Philly folks that really understand what Philly's all about. Like we jokingly say there's no John, there's none of that. We don't have It's a Philly thing because
no wow up there.
No, it's all the real things. It's Passyunk, it's it's all things that you could get here around the Schuylkill and Passyunk and everything Philly. So thank you guys for tuning in. Look, we do have more content. We've got more to bring, more that you can follow. If you miss our live episodes, we're coming on every week, I should say, to join you to talk about the Union. If you miss any of our live episodes, you can always check us out across podcast platforms, which is great to see. We've got our fellow, outside of PHLY Sports, we're all over, covering from Denver to Phoenix, to Chicago, just bringing some much-needed real conversations around the teams. For us here at PHLY Sports, it's Philadelphia Union, it's Eagles, it's Flyers, it's Sixers, it's Phillies, which I'm on that show as well with Jamie Lynch. And we are just breaking down all the things that we love about our Philly sports teams on the field or court as well as off. And as we know, there's so many exciting things and storylines off as well of what we're watching and how we're watching, I should say. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode. For JP, give him a follow for sure. You heard the prediction, 2-1 victory
2-1
over Cincinnati. RC Burrows agrees with that. I'm going to say 3-1 Union victory because I would love a nice late goal, third goal. Get Subaru Park rocking to send the Union off on the road against Charlotte to pick up a nice 3 points, keeping the momentum going.
What kind of kicks does Jim rock on Saturday night?
Oh, there's a question. What do you think?
He's been loving his dunks. He loves those dunks.
Jim Curtin is secretly pretty swaggy. Yes. Which I feel like you wouldn't get from Jim Curtin because he's very buttoned up and always very he's the coach that gives you the politically correct answers. Yes. He's always calm, cool, and collected. You rarely see him really break out of that. He's a cool guy, by the way, but awesome, he's secretly got some style and some fashion for sure. So we're gonna keep an eye. It's a Kicks watch. We're gonna keep an eye on that too.
You got it.
We'll see if he pulls out the dunks for that. Who knows? Maybe mix it up a little bit. But yes, be sure to check us out. PHLY Sports. We've got to talk about what shoes Jim Curtin's wearing, game recaps, all the thoughts around the Philadelphia Union. And yes, guys, there's finally consistent coverage around the Philadelphia Union, in addition to what others like JP are already doing, that we can bring you to help enhance all the great work that people like yourselves and myself are doing out in the Philly sports world. So be sure to follow, hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, keep Crocs incoming.
Sport mode or non-sport mode?
I'm sorry. I was trying so hard to keep my cool there, but Nick, Crocs incoming. Is it the Crocs with the little, what are those? I'm not a Crocs person.
The slipper ones with the holes. You got the strap in the back.
Does he put them in sport mode is the question.
Yes. Sport mode.
That I do know. With the Crocs go in sport mode, we mean business.
I'd be pretty sick if you did that.
Jim Curtin Crocs. There it is. There's our guest for the day. And a 2-1 victory. That's it. So be sure to follow, subscribe, keep up to date with all things PHLY Sports. And for us at PHLY Union Podcast, thanks for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day. And we'll be seeing you much more to cover our favorite team in the MLS and all things soccer, Philadelphia Union. Have a good one, guys.
We all silly like the mayor.